Hello everyone, and welcome to another Jim Fusco video podcast. Now I've shown you how I write a song, but tonight we're going to show you how I record a song, and that song is a brand new one called Go Back to Him. Now you can notice that I'm a little scruffy. Let's just say that on the album covers, I'm really good with Photoshop. I'd also like to note that it is just about 1 a.m., which is late for a lot of people, but prime time for a recording musician to start his craft. Now, you'll notice that I'm in the brand new, beautifully decorated Fusco Moore Studios here in South Meriden, Connecticut. Take a look. Now, it's not all just for decoration. Those panels you see on the wall are actually acoustic panels that will help me record a little bit better so you won't get as much echo in the recording. Now, you think that it would be easy now that everything's set up and everything's all connected, because that's really the toughest part. Miking instruments is always really tough. Getting the right levels is always really tough. And we have everything in pretty much a permanent setup right now. But the problem is that nothing ever seems to go right for me. And I have to go restring a guitar because one of the guitar strings in the middle of the guitar, not the high string that you would expect to break, the little tiny one. No, that one's in perfect shape right now. But one of the strings in the middle of the guitar decided to break as I was playing a D chord, and now I have to go replace it before I can start recording. So 1 o'clock all of a sudden turns into 1:30. So let's go change a guitar string. The hardest part about stringing a guitar is de-stringing what's left. And that's where we start right now. Trusty pliers. This should take some time. Please note that no matter how many times I do this, it never gets easier. But I am getting the hang of it. And there's our culprit, the broken end of the other string. And now for the new one. I may have hit a break. I think this old string actually fits. One of the hardest parts is actually keeping it in there. You gotta imagine these strings are under immense pressure. Sort of like me. If you don't push it in far enough, it will snap back and hit you in the face. And you think after all the years of guitars and guitar making that they may have come up with a better way to string it in the first place. But no, you still have high-tension steel wires poking at your fingertips at every turn. This is the part I truly hate. Little trim. Ugh, you're right. Okay, all strung out now and ready to play. Not quite. What we're going to do is actually clean the strings of this guitar because I'll admit it, I have really sweaty hands, especially when playing the guitar. So what I need to do is actually clean it off because when you have dirty strings, the guitar doesn't sound very bright at all, it sounds very dead. And that's fine for practicing, but when you're recording, you want the guitar to sound its best. And this little beauty sounds great when it's at top shape. So I have to use this thing called Fast Fret that my brother so graciously lent me. I stole it. It's really great. You got a great find. And you put it all on the strings and wipe it down, and all of a sudden, the guitar sounds great. So we're going to do that right now. This takes away all the rust, too. So even though it's good for cosmetic purposes, it's also good for playing purposes. Because who wants a rusty cut on their index finger? It's a lovely sound, doesn't it? Just finished polishing the strings. Looks like we're ready to tune. A trusty tuner in hand, we get this thing ready for recording. Now mind you, it has been a long time, and I still have not laid one track down yet for this song. It's getting really late, I'm getting pretty sleepy, but what are you gonna do? It's music. I think we got it. Oh yeah. Now we're ready to record. Alright, so let's lay one down. 1, 2, 3. Remember when I was talking about luck? Here is definitely my luck. Somehow, I actually broke the metal piece that holds this microphone on. Right here. See this thing? There's a piece that screws this thing in. And somehow, I broke that little wing nut off. And now, I can't rig up the microphone. So now I've got to spend more time, now it is 1:30, and I have to spend more time trying to figure out how to rig the microphone up. You know what? I'm just going to use a different microphone. Around this time of the evening, I like to reach for my good friend, Coca-Cola. What's this stuff? Alright. Now, I usually like to lay down a drum track first, because then you don't run into the problem of, maybe playing the guitar at a particular pace that feels right when you're playing the guitar, but then you go to lay down the drums, you're like, wait a minute, why did I slow down there for like dramatic effect? It's got to be in the drum beat, the backbeat. But since this song is so guitar-driven, acoustic guitar-driven, and I think I have a pretty good rhythm going, I decided to record the guitars first, and now I'm going to record the drums. Now, if you look behind me, you'll see a weird-looking contraption. Well, that weird-looking contraption is actually a drum set. It's an electronic drum set. Now, I know there's some naysayers out there that are going to say, oh, electronic drum set, it's cheap, it's not going to sound like a real drum set, it's not the real deal. Well, let me tell you something. I've been a drummer since I was in 4th grade. It was the first instrument I learned, it's the only instrument I ever took real professional lessons on. I know drums, and I know what they're supposed to sound like. And my brother and I are professionals at miking the drum set. And let me tell you, that is one of the absolute hardest things to do and to get right when it comes to recording. Well, this electronic drum set not only sounds great, but it takes all the guesswork out of recording the drums. So let me show you what it sounds like. Since we live in a condo complex, it'd be a little difficult to have real drums. So we got this electronic drum set to alleviate that problem, because if it's not plugged in, this is what you hear. Not too great, and not very realistic sounding, but when you play it out loud, not bad, huh? Sounded like a good one to me. Usually at this time I like to plug in my guitar and lay down all the guitar tracks, and then the bass, because I think it's better just to have all the instruments there before you start doing the vocals. Do one half first, and the next half afterwards. But since it's so incredibly late, we're talking somewhere around the 2:30 range, I'm not going to plug in my amp right now, and I'm not going to blow away the neighbors and wake everybody up. And besides the fact, I'm pretty tired, and I don't really feel like working out guitar parts at this current time. So what I'm going to do is do the vocals instead. I'm going to do a lead track, and then if I'm feeling frisky, I'm going to do some more background vocals. So what we've done here is we move over to what we at Fusco More Studios like to call the vocal corner. And it's called the vocal corner because it's in the corner of the room, but also it's heavily covered in the studio foam. See, we have panels on the ceiling here. We've also got a ton of foam right in this dense corner over here, so that there's no reverberation in the music and in the voice when we're trying to sing. It really helps to give you a very clean track. So let's give this one a shot. Go back to him, go back to him. It doesn't matter what he has to say to you, 'cause he'll just keep running back. You're wasting your time, am I wasting my breath? I'm pretty sure that's it for me tonight. It's pushing 3 o'clock and I'm getting pretty sleepy. So I'm going to come back and start all over again with more background vocals and with my guitar and bass parts
It's going to get interesting, and it's going to become a really great song. It's already sounded really good.
Okay, day 2 of recording, and since it's now the weekend, I find that I actually have much less time to record. But it is, again, late at night, and it is time to record the ever-important guitar solo. I have come up with something, sort of just listening to it in my head over and over again throughout the days, and I've come up with an idea for a solo. And so what I have done is restrung and cleaned and polished and everything my nice, beautiful Ibanez electric guitar. Love this thing. This one's a fast one, so I can play a little bit faster. It's a solid body, so it's more for solos than, say, something like my other Ibanez that's back here, that is the semi-hollow body that I'll be using for the rhythm guitar section. So what I've done is, here's my solo. So here you can hear this. It sounds a little dinky. So what I'm going to do is turn my trusty guitar pedal board and pick out a couple of effects that I want to use. I think I'm going to go with my Dynacomp to give it a little more punch. See? It kind of accentuates the notes a little bit. Then we go to my Ibanez TS7 Tube Screamer, modded to sound like the original one from the 70s. And then you get something a little more chunky that allows me to play the solo a little easier because it sustains the notes a little longer. So this is what it's going to end up sounding like. Not bad, huh? Now for this song, I've decided to, for that last part, add a little bit of guitar harmony. So instead what I'm going to do is, because it does the... like that. And now I'm going to play it a little lower. Play something like that, and then do a third... Doesn't sound like much when you're playing them individually. Trust me, when you hear it recorded, it's going to sound really cool. 3-part guitar harmony. Now, I'm not sure if you can really tell from the angle I've got it at, but I've tried a new system of recording my guitar, and that's by actually putting a microphone in front of the amplifier. What I used to do is just plug the guitar directly into the recorder, but found out that most of the professionals actually use this method because the guitar sounds a lot different when it's played out through an amplifier, and you can make it sound a little more powerful, and you can get a lot more effects out of it. And it just really changes the sound of the guitar, like you're actually playing it in real life, rather than just having it like thrown into your ear when you just plug it in directly. Alright, back here at the vocal corner, and what I'm going to do right now is try to work out some of the harmonies for the chorus and for the bridge. It's one of my favorite parts because you can be a little creative, but it's also the part that kind of, for me at least, puts a lot of pressure on. Not only because I'm singing myself and you really got to get the notes right in order to make the harmony sound perfect, but it's a whole different dynamic. You can go a bunch of different ways. You know, if you want to make the high harmony stay high and then have the low harmony stay low, then you're going to have that type of harmony. If you're going to have the high harmony stay high and then dip low in the middle or something and come back up, then you got to counteract that with your middle harmony. And it's all got to work around the lead vocal to try to make it sound interesting and exciting and good. And that's what I'm going to attempt to try to do right here. Again, just like with that guitar solo harmony, they don't exactly sound right when you hear them alone. You got to hear them all together. So this is going to sound a little weird and a little embarrassing for me, but in the end, it'll be a better song for it. You know I've known you for so many years, don't you think I've seen your hand? You say I'm thinking of myself all the time, but I can't see you hurt again. I may have cried wolf in the past. You know I've known you for so many years. Don't you think I've seen your hand? You say I'm thinking of myself all the time, but I can't see you hurt again, because I may have cried wolf in the past. It'll sound good, trust me. Alright, now the next thing, before I go to bed, I want to try to find the sound that I'm going to use for my rhythm electric guitar parts. And I'm going to use two guitars. I'm going to use a Fender electric, standard Fender electric, that's a solid body guitar. Then I'm going to use, for that old-fashioned touch, I'm going to use my absolute favorite personal possession, my Ibanez semi-hollow, beautiful guitar. And for this, I think I'm just going to go with my Ibanez Tube Screamer, which sounds a lot more tough than it is, and just set it to the normal mode and see what kind of distortion I get out of it. I'm looking for kind of like a classic distortion sound. You know, and what I think I'm going to do is, instead of playing the chords up here, the bar chords, I'm going to leave those for the Fender, because it's got more of a cleaner sound to it, and it'll be easier to play too. It'll sound more natural up at these high notes here. And if you listen to playing like the regular chords down here on the neck, it really helps the sound reverberate around in these semi-hollow chambers over here. And I think that's pretty much the reasoning behind this. Now, when I was writing this song, when I originally came up with the idea, and I really don't usually do this at all, I said, you know what, I want to write a Beatlesque song. You know, I want it to sort of sound like the Beatles, kind of channel that energy and that sound that they gave to their songs, especially the earlier ones. And so what I did was, when I was in Italy on vacation in Sicily with my friend Alberto, you know, I came up with that general thing in the beginning. Go back to here, go back to here. It's very early Beatle, beginning of song type of thing. And that's, you know, so when I was talking to Alberto about it, and we started coming up with the lyrics, and we started coming up with the tune, and after that, it just wasn't that I was thinking about it being a Beatle-like song anymore. It just happened. You know, it's the way it came out. It was only because I played that, I came up with that, go back to him, is the reason why I started coming up with it. So, you know, we wrote some really great words and put together a really good song about a guy really just being disgusted and just saying, fine, you want to go back to that jerky guy that's always pushing you around and making you feel like dirt half the time? You know, yeah, he'll buy you a new pocketbook or something like that to make you feel better, but he's a jerk, and fine, you want to do that? Go back to him. And that's pretty much what the song is saying. And so we have to also get that energy and that little bit of anger in there, but I want to still make it sound upbeat. So we're going to turn on the Tube Screamer, and we're going to try some chords. Good. I think it needs a little more warmth to the middle. So I'm going to turn down the tone a bit. And see how that sounds. I'm not sure. Still not right. Okay, so maybe tone wasn't my problem. and just playing around a little bit, I think I might have actually found a better option. Listen. Here's the original, the tube screamer that I was going to do, which, by the way, costs a lot of money. Very bright sounding, but when you take away the tone, it sounds too dead. It doesn't have the warmth that I'm exactly looking for. Then we switch over to my $15 Fab distortion pedal from Dan Electro that actually got incredible reviews, but were so incredibly inexpensive, brand new. So I bought a couple of them. I bought one for the overdrive too. But listen to the difference here. That's what I really want to hear in there. And I think for the semi-hollow, I'm going with the Fab distortion from Dan Electro, and then I'm going to switch over back to the tube screamer for the high notes on the Fender. So let's get started. Alright, here we are on day 3 of recording, and I've already recorded today the other rhythm electric guitar, so that's all taken care of. And now it's time for the bass. I don't know why I always usually do the bass last, probably because everything is already there, and then with the bass I can fill in what I haven't done yet. Sort of like, as far as a pattern or a beat goes, that the bass can sort of follow the drum set. So, instead of just playing a normal bass line, because if you think about it, this is how it would be. Go back to him, go back to him. It doesn't matter what he has to say to you, 'cause you'll just keep running back. He's taking your time, am I wasting my breath? So, it's kind of plain. So what I decided to do was sort of actually inadvertently pay homage to a past song that we've done, and come with this little bass line and play it higher up on the bass, a la Paul McCartney, so that we could get a little more brightness out of the sound, which is really what I'm going for here in this song, and then throw in some low notes every once in a while, not as a standard, but as kind of like an accentuation effect. So what I'm going to do is do it like this. Go back to him, go back to him. Much more interesting, don't you think? So, it's time to record that now, and then we move on to the mixing stage. Probably going to add some percussion while I'm in there. But it's nearing completion and only 3 short days later. Okay, so I just finished recording my tambourine track, trusty, and that pretty much completes it. I think I'm actually done with this song. Pretty proud of how it came out. It sounds really good, and after watching how I record it and everything, I think it's about time that we gave it a listen.
Go back to him, go back to him. It doesn't matter what he has to say to you, 'cause you just keep running back. You're wasting your time. Am I wasting my breath? Sometimes a royalty, other times a peasant. Who will you be serving next? Is it a smile, or is it something I lack? You know I've known you for so many years. Don't you think I've seen your hand? You say I'm thinking of myself